My fellow Africans, my brothers and sisters across the world who refuse to bow to imperial masters, today I speak to you not as a politician making empty promises, but as a man who has stared death in the face and chosen to fight back. They tried to kill me, not once, not twice, but multiple times. They wanted me gone because I dared to say what no African leader has been allowed to say for decades. We don't need you anymore. You want to know why 700 North Korean soldiers are now protecting me in Burkina Faso. You want to know why the West is panicking, why France is losing sleep, why the old colonial powers are scrambling to maintain their stranglehold on our continent. Because we've broken their rules, and there's no going back. Let me tell you something the Western media will never report. In the past 6 months alone, they've tried to remove me from power 3 times. 3 separate coup attempts, each one more sophisticated than the last. Each one backed by the same powers that have been bleeding Africa dry for centuries. The first attempt? They tried to buy my own generals. Suitcases full of euros, promises of safe passage to France, threats against their families. When that failed, they moved to direct action. The second attempt almost succeeded. Armed mercenaries, trained in European camps, infiltrated our military bases. They were hours away from storming the presidential palace when our intelligence that no longer reports to Paris or Washington, uncovered their plot. But it was the third attempt that changed everything. They didn't just want to kill me, they wanted to make an example, a public execution that would send a message to every African leader who dares to dream of true independence. This is what happens when you bite the hand that feeds you. That's when I made the call that shook the world. I picked up the phone and I called Pyongyang. You think it's strange that I turned to North Korea for protection? Let me ask you something. When you're fighting for your life against the most powerful military forces in human history, do you call someone who plays by their rules, or do you call someone who's been giving them the middle finger for 70 years? North Korea has survived decades of sanctions, threats, invasion attempts, and international isolation. They've built the most impenetrable security system on Earth, while the entire Western world tried to crush them. They understand something that every African leader needs to learn. Independence isn't given, it's taken, and it's defended with blood. When those 700 North Korean soldiers arrived in Ouagadougou, they didn't come with conditions. They didn't demand mining rights. They didn't insist on military bases. They didn't lecture me about democracy while planning my assassination. They came with one simple message. We stand with those who refuse to kneel. Here's what they don't want you to understand. I'm not just the president of Burkina Faso. I represent something far more dangerous to their system, proof that Africa can survive without them. Since taking power, we've kicked out French troops. We've terminated unfair mining contracts. We've stopped sending our gold to European refineries for pennies on the dollar. We've built direct trade relationships with Russia, China, and yes, North Korea. Relationships that bypass their banks, their currencies, their control. But most importantly, we've shown other African leaders that it's possible to say no to the IMF, no to World Bank structural adjustment programs, no to the entire neo-colonial system that has kept our people in poverty, while European cities gleam with wealth stolen from our soil. That's why they want me dead. Not because I'm a dictator. The West has supported countless dictators who serve their interests. They want me dead because I'm showing Africa a different path, a path where we control our own resources, defend our own sovereignty, and choose our own allies. Those North Korean soldiers aren't just bodyguards, they're teachers. They're sharing something the West never wanted us to have, knowledge of how to build a military that can't be bought, can't be infiltrated, can't be turned against its own people by foreign intelligence agencies. For decades, our armies were trained by French officers, equipped with American weapons, and commanded through NATO protocols. Every single one of our military communications could be intercepted. Every troop movement was monitored. Every strategic decision was known in Paris before it was implemented in Ouagadougou. Not anymore. We've completely rebuilt our intelligence apparatus. Our communications are now encrypted with North Korean technology that the CIA can't crack. Our loyalty screening processes were designed by people who've kept foreign agents out of their government for 70 years. Our special forces are learning tactics that have never been taught in Western military academies. The result? We've stopped every assassination attempt. We've uncovered every foreign plot. We've identified and removed every Western asset embedded in our government and military. We've become untouchable. But here's what really terrifies them. We're not alone anymore. Mali has kicked out French forces and invited Russian security advisors. Niger has terminated uranium contracts with France and is building new partnerships with China. Chad is questioning its military agreements with the former colonial power. Guinea is exploring defense cooperation with North Korea. The alliance of Sahel states isn't just a defensive pact, it's the foundation of a new African order, an order where we share intelligence to prevent foreign coups, where we coordinate our resource policies to maximize our leverage, where we pool our security capabilities to protect each other from the kind of regime change operations that destroyed Libya and attempted to destroy us, and it's working. For the first time in decades, African governments are surviving Western attempts to remove them. We're not just resisting, we're thriving. What you're witnessing in Burkina Faso is bigger than one country, bigger than one leader. You're watching the birth of a new global order, an order where the global South doesn't need permission from Washington or Brussels to defend itself. Russia provides us with military expertise and secure communications. China offers us technology and infrastructure without demanding political submission. North Korea shares security knowledge that has kept them independent for generations. Iran shows us how to build an economy that functions despite Western sanctions. Together, we're creating something that didn't exist during the Cold War, a genuine alternative to Western hegemony, not communism versus capitalism, but sovereignty versus subjugation, independence versus imperialism, dignity versus domination, and the West knows they're losing control. You want to know why French politicians are holding emergency meetings? Why American intelligence agencies are scrambling to understand what's happening in Africa? Why European media is suddenly full of stories about concerning developments in the Sahel? Because they've realized something terrifying. They can't stop us anymore. Their traditional tools of control are failing. Economic sanctions don't work when we trade directly with each other. Military threats ring hollow when we're protected by nuclear powers. Political pressure means nothing when we've built our legitimacy on resistance to foreign interference. They tried to isolate us, but we found new partners. They tried to economically strangle us, but we built alternative systems. They tried to militarily intimidate us, but we armed ourselves with the most sophisticated defensive capabilities on the continent. They've lost Africa, and they know it. This isn't about rejecting the world. This is about engaging with the world on our terms. We want trade, but fair trade. We want cooperation, but cooperation between equals. We want partnership, but partnership that serves our people's interests, not just the profits of multinational corporations. Those 700 North Korean soldiers protecting me represent something larger than military defense. They represent the possibility of a world where small nations can choose their own friends, defend their own interests, and chart their own destiny. They represent the end of an era where Africa was treated as a chessboard for great powers to play their games. They represent the beginning of an era where Africa is a great power itself. To my fellow African presidents who are still taking calls from Paris, still signing contracts that rob your people, still allowing foreign troops to occupy your territory, you have a choice to make. You can continue to be puppets in a system designed to keep Africa weak and divided. You can keep pretending that the people who enslaved us, colonized us, and have exploited us for centuries suddenly have our best interests at heart. Or you can join us. Join the alliance of African nations that refuses to kneel. Join the movement that's building a future where African resources serve African people. Join the revolution that's creating the Africa our ancestors died dreaming of. But understand this, there is no middle ground anymore. The days when you could play both sides, when you could serve two masters, when you could whisper sweet words of independence while your hands remain chained to colonial contracts, those days are over. The West will force you to choose, and when they do, remember who stood with you when the world was against you. Remember who offered partnership without domination. Remember who shared their strength without demanding your surrender. To Washington, to Paris, to Brussels, to London, your age of unchallenged dominance is ending. Not through war, not through revolution, but through the simple act of nations choosing to walk away from your system, you can adapt to this new reality, or you can fight it. You can learn to treat us as equals, or you can continue to see us as subordinates. You can respect our sovereignty, or you can keep trying to undermine it. But understand this, we're not asking for your permission anymore. We're not seeking your approval. We're not begging for your respect. We're taking it. To every nation that has ever been told you're too small to matter, too weak to resist, too poor to have choices, look at Burkina Faso. Look at what we've accomplished. Look at how we've survived and thrived despite every attempt to destroy us. The world is changing. The old order is crumbling. New alliances are forming based on mutual respect rather than colonial subjugation. New economic systems are emerging that don't require approval from Western banks. New security arrangements are protecting nations that were once defenseless against foreign intervention. You don't have to accept the role they assigned you. You don't have to play by rules designed to keep you weak. You don't have to choose between poverty and servitude. There is another way, and that way starts with a single word: no. Those who call me controversial, who say I'm destabilizing the region, who claim I'm threatening international order, they're right about one thing. I am threatening their order. The order that built European capitals with African gold. The order that filled American museums with stolen African artifacts. The order that kept African children hungry while African resources fed the world. That order deserves to be threatened. It deserves to be challenged. It deserves to be destroyed. In its place, we're building something they never wanted us to have: dignity, sovereignty, power. The 700 North Korean soldiers protecting me today represent millions of Africans who refuse to be anyone's colony tomorrow. They represent the spirit of resistance that flows in our blood. They represent the future our children deserve. A future where African leaders answer to African people, not foreign powers. Where African resources serve African development, not European profits. Where African nations stand together as equals in the community of nations, not as subjects in someone else's empire. That future starts now. That future starts with us. That future is unstoppable. The revolution isn't coming. The revolution is here. And no force on earth can turn back the tide of freedom once it begins to flow. We are Burkina Faso. We are Africa. We are free. And we will never bow again.